Hi, I am so excited to be back for part two with Gregg Brown, Change Management Future of Work speaker. We had a lovely chat the last time, and now this is part two where we're going to talk a little bit more about creating positive change in the world, as well as dive a little deeper into some tips and tricks that we can think about and use as we navigate into this new world of work, as they call it. So let's head over and see what Gregg has to say. Let's talk about creating positive change in the world. I love this because I love that that's actually at the core of your messages and work. It's like it's about the positive change and helping others, right? So my question is, you talk a lot about creating positive change in the world, even in the most challenging of circumstances. Why is this important, and what does it mean to you?
Well, I think all of us, and this is sort of maybe a bit more cosmic view, I believe that every single one of us is put on the planet for a reason. Indigenous folks call it our original medicine, which is, that we're all put on the planet to express something unique. And if we don't do it, it's lost to the world forever. And that might mean if you're a good dishwasher in a restaurant, it might mean, if you're a nurse, it might mean if you're a CEO or an IT professional, it doesn't matter what role we are in. If it's work-based, I tend to work with people in a corporate setting, whether, for profit or not for profit. We spend so much of our time working. Don't we want it to be good?
Oh,
and
yeah.
Even if it's quote, I'm going to use a quote, a crappy job, you can label it crappy for whatever you want, low pay, low this, or you hate your boss, whatever your issues are, it can be crappy for a variety of reasons, and I don't say you always have to stick to that role. And yet we've all gone to restaurants where many of us couldn't imagine being a server. And the servers come over, they're in a good mood, they're helping you out, and you're like, I don't know how you do this every day. So that's sort of a bit of that piece that inspires me from a workplace perspective. I think we spend most of our time there. We want it to be a good experience. And I think ultimately we all have responsibility, on the planet to try to make the world a better place in some capacity, whether it's in our home life, whether it's teaching our kids well, whether it's volunteering, whether it's working and making someone's life a little brighter. When I go to the grocery store, there's a cashier I always go to because she is the most awesome and always makes me smile. That's brightening my day. It's a signpost that says life is good. And I think we all need that, especially now. Let me bring this to work, though. So I think, in all the research I've done over the years, and certainly the work I've done with, people, marginalized folks living on the street, or with nuns, or, working in healthcare in my past life, to, the work that I've done for the last 15, 20 years, the research I've seen is that when people are under pressure and sometimes the worst circumstances, amazing things happen. I'll give you an example. There's a wonderful story I read a number of years ago by a guy named James Dunn, and he was an investment banker who owned Sandler O'Neill, which was in the World Trade Center, and his staff were all at work that day. And in the World Trade Center attacks back in 9/11, all those years ago, he lost 40% of his personnel and his two other partners. Like a horrible situation. Now, on one hand, when he says this, I had the business to manage. And on the other, I had all of these people I had to take care of. And it felt daunting to him. And he said this: the more I took care of the personal issues, such as personally attending funerals, continuing benefits, showing up for the families, and taking care of their needs, and this is the aha moment, the business took care of itself.
Wow.
Yeah. And that is inspiring to me, not only as a leader, but as a worker in my life over the years. That and when we say paying attention to people, it doesn't mean holding their hands and singing kumbaya and all that hand-holdy huggy stuff, which is not really what I like to do at work. It makes me a little uncomfortable. He's talking about doing solid, practical things that took care of the team. Wow. And when he says the business took care of himself, it did. Why? Because he created an environment of which people could succeed and be a part of the change, which was a horrible change that I hope we never have to go through, that was going on. And if you apply that to today's world, one of the good things, if there's one good thing that's come out of this pandemic, is regardless of what workplace people have been in, and certainly the organizations I work with, people bring their humanity to work more now.
Yeah, I agree.
And I love that. And he brought his humanity to work back at 9/11. And today I feel there's a little bit more understanding. Like I've done sessions for big organizations where I've had my big black cat decide to make an appearance in my studio. And he's famous in certain parts of the world now for, traipsing across.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, but people are understanding about that now, and people are forgiving about that now.
Yeah.
And people understand children screaming in the background and pets and this and interruptions, because we've never been through this before, and it's forced us to embrace our humanity. And I think that's the good part that's come out of this, in that, I believe that we'll see organizations that really work with their people have really found, I think, that they'll get even greater commitment from them as they go forward. And that's what inspires me.
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you. And I could not agree more. I'm always about finding the silver linings in roadblocks, negativity, change, and all that. And the humanity that has come, like the deeper human connection that has come from this pandemic, is fascinating to me. And I think it's a really positive thing. Like, I've always been someone that's been very authentic. I'm kind of the same person at work as I am at home. Like, I don't really change that. But, some people, because we feel like we have to play these different roles, now I think people are like, hey, you're a human being. You have a cat, you have a child, you have, all of this going on. I've definitely seen some pretty funny, at home work buddies coming in videos and stuff online. So yeah, thank you. No, I agree. I couldn't agree more. Like, we have to find the positives in change, because it's going to happen no matter what. We can't prevent it from happening. So I like that, and I couldn't agree more that it's brought this deeper level of humanity that I've seen. And and soft skills, like you said, but those are really the hard skills.
Interpersonal skills.
Interpersonal skills. I like that better. Yeah.
They're not soft skills.
No, they're
the
not
hard ones. And I think the thing is about, looking for the positive. It's not about putting a positive spin on a bad situation. I wrote an article years ago about the tyranny of positive thinking. It's not about being positive. It's allowing time to unfold to see if something good does come. Something good might not come. Sometimes change is crappy.
Yeah.
And sometimes good doesn't come. And we have to be at peace with that. And yet, during that, we can still take a positive approach, which means doing the work that needs to get done, just like doing work needs to get done, like James Dunn did at the World Trade Center. That was a pun that I didn't mean to do. But, doing the work that he needed to do, that was not positive stuff. He was taking a positive approach in a very negative situation to make things happen. So it's all about timing. Yeah. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And last question for you, and I think this is something we're all a little concerned about right now, is, do you have, because there's so much uncertainty. I mean, people are talking about this fourth wave, and it's like, is it going to happen? And we're seeing it happen in other parts of the world. And I think everyone I know here is like, I cannot survive a fourth wave. Like, I can't do it. Like, people are just at capacity. So for dealing with this kind of change. So my question to you is, any tips that you can provide to people watching on how best to navigate uncertainty we find ourselves in as we start to talk about heading back to the office or not heading back to the office, who knows, and into this new world work? I'm a planner, and I do not like the uncertainty of this. So anything you can give me to help would be amazing.
Well, and I would probably say to you, you're better at handling uncertainty than you think, because you made it through the last year and a half. So I'm a very much a planner too, and I know we're alike, and that I like to have my calendar full of speaking engagements for the coming year, so I know where I'm going and what plane I'm getting on and all that fun stuff. And during COVID, I had to let go of that because I kept having things planned, cancel, blah, blah, blah. And I'm much better at handling that uncertainty now, as I'm sure you are. So first tip is to be future focused. So stop using language that says, I can't figure this out. I can't do this. Because guess what happens? It's the mindset. And this is physiology. It's not woo-woo stuff. If you keep saying, I can't figure it out, your brain will start to look for ways that you can't figure this out. It's like when you plan a vacation or, do something new, your brain looks for ways and creates new ideas and thought patterns to make it happen. So if you say, I can't figure it out, you're gonna get more of I can't figure it out. So just shift your language. I can figure it out, or I will figure it out. You may not know how, I'm willing to figure it out. If you shift your language to say, we're gonna figure this out, and be future focused in your language, and say you're leading a team, if you use that language with your team, you're triggering their brains to start to notice ideas and situations to help you figure it out. It's like when you buy a new car, you notice everybody else has the new car and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm in the Ford Taurus Club or whatever car you like to drive. It's not because there's more of those on the street. It's that you're using selection and frequency bias to your advantage. So if you say, I can figure this out, or I will figure this out, your brain will look for ways. So that's the first thing to do. And that's not putting a positive spin on a bad situation. And it's not negating people's feelings about, oh, I can't do this. I don't want to do a fourth wave lockdown. I don't think we're going to have one. Hopefully we won't. But, I'm like, I can't do this. And yet when I sort of ground that a little bit, I'm like, you know what? I can. I just made it through a bloody year and a half. So, when you ground it, and that's sort of the another part we'll talk about in a sec. So first up, be future focused in your language. Stop using language about what you can't do. Stop talking about, when you talk about how things are, you'll get more of what that is. So be future focused. Get your brain to work. Your brain will just do it subconsciously. You don't need to do a bloody thing, but change your language. And I get caught in that too. So it's not just everybody. Second tip, expand your thinking. You can do way more than you think you can.
I agree.
And I'm not saying overwork. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying work 50 hours a day. I'm not saying that. But you're way more capable than you think. If you're not sure that you are, look for the skills and abilities that you developed in the last year, because I can guarantee every single person on the planet has a whole new set of skills and abilities they did not have before. And remembering that when we don't expand our thinking, we lock onto a way of being that locks out innovation. The third tip, and the last one, is ground worries in facts. FACTS. Worries are just made up stories. Worries are made up stories. They're not real. So ground your worries in facts and turn it into a risk and ask some questions. What's the likelihood of this happening? Low, medium, or high? How can I prevent it from happening? Is there anything I can do? If it does happen, what's my contingency plan? What's my plan B? So ground it in some facts. I'm not saying don't listen. Listen to people's worries. It might be appropriate just to say, I hear you, it's a rough time. So don't try to problem solve this for other people if it's not the right time. But if it is for you, ground your worries in facts. They are made up stories. When we focus on, watching the news first thing in the morning, that demotivates us. Why? 99% of it's out of our control, and it's negative. Also negative. So it's like at work, though, if we focus on stuff that's out of our control, we get demotivated. Narrow your focus, narrow your expectations, and that will help you ground your worries and facts. And, we are more change ready than we think. And, use the skills everyone's developed in the last year to navigate the future.
I love that. Thank you so much. No, that makes me feel a little better. I'm like, okay, I can.
You can do it.
I can do it. I can do it.
It doesn't mean it's not going to be crappy at points.
Right.
It might be crappy. Yet we'll get through it.
We'll get through it. It's uncomfortable, but we'll get through it, and we'll come out stronger on the other end, I think is hopefully the key message here, right? Yes. Even
we will come out stronger, and we will get through it. The great things about pandemics is this. Guess what the best thing is? They always end.
Yes, true.
They change. They go there's always an end.
Even if it takes a while and a lot
even if it
longer than we
takes a
expect.
while and with all the negative consequences that come from it. And yet what I know is if we can all just use very simple shifts to our thinking, like change our language, be in the negative with people, and ground our worries in facts, those little pieces will help us navigate this and give us the confidence to really get through it.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Gregg. This has been amazing. You've taught us a lot about the psychological aspects of navigating the future and change and the mindset and some tips. So those are really good. Thank you. Thank you everybody for tuning in today. We hope that you took away some really great tips for yourself, and especially as we're heading into as they like to call it, the new world of work. So hopefully you got some nice tips there. Thank you for joining us today. If you'd like to find out more, we'd love to chat with you. Gregg, you can reach out to him. You can reach out to me, LinkedIn. You can email me, Tammy@taspeakersmanagement.com. We'd love to chat with you further. Just any questions or anything you might have, we're always happy to help. And I know Gregg has some great resources on his website as well. You can also check out. So definitely make sure to go over there. And thank you again so much. And we look forward to you tuning in next time.
Thank you, Tammy, for having me.
You're very welcome.